ambitions, your goals, you must aim high. There can be no more noble calling than to ensure food security for everyone. So the world is fortunate that you're bringing your talents, your ideas, your agricultural sector, which is central to the vitality of the global community.
I think you have to just take
when this sector grows, it delivers the fundamental, undeniable dignity that comes with feeding ourselves and each other. So the message is, if you sow in agriculture, you can reap prosperity for all. The data is also Africa has 3 things that the world needs in order to solve food insecurity and to avert the imminent climate crisis. We are home to 60% of the world's arable land and an abundance of renewable energy. 2 of 3 of the world's largest carbon sinks, and in a matter of a short 2 decades, the world's largest workforce. The agriculture sector, as you know, already contributes to 35% of the GDP, and it employs more people than any other sector. The advent of digitization, artificial intelligence, automation will only enhance this. So how do we turn our strengths, our assets,
I just picture it. I know the
prosperity for all? For us at the Foundation, the answer is clear. Invest in young people. And for nearly 2 decades, the Mastercard Foundation has focused our work to advance education, financial inclusion here on the continent of Africa. We came because of our young people, because of you. Our vision is a world where all have opportunity to learn. In 2018, we launched a strategy which we call Young Africa Works, and we set up a bold target of enabling 30 million young people, especially young women, to access dignified and fulfilling work. We set up offices in 7 countries. We built a team of 500 people across Africa, and we based our leadership here to deliver this ambitious plan. Since then, we've deployed over $9 billion towards Young Africa Works, and I'm pleased to report on a few key highlights of the results, where despite global events, despite the global pandemic and economic downturn, we have results. 8.3 million young people are working, and more than half of them are in the agricultural sector, and more than half of them
It feels weird. Like I'm not going to sit down beside him.
most
Because
of
a person
our
just bend
are
down.
African
I
Americans.
have to bend down.
To doing remarkable work. And every day, we see the power and the wisdom of getting behind African solutions. And we see the leadership of young
If you
people.
don't do it, you won't do
The
it.
young people that were blessed in me,
The session is quite long.
about creating
Oh, yeah, are you
healthy
ready?
families, healthy
Are you ready?
communities, and that they are deeply climate conscious. Now, all of you are part of this movement of transformation. And we stand. Your vision is Africa's hope, and your success is Africa's success. We celebrate. We congratulate all of you who are receiving an award. And we congratulate all of you for daring to take this path. You're breaking new ground. So keep going, keep doing, and keep shining. Thank you.
I didn't have to stop talking. Thank you. That's really very nice. If I had some one important takeaway really in there is that we should all keep investing in young people because they bring talent and innovation to transform the food system. And one important point that Rita mentioned is that if you sow in agriculture, you reap prosperity for all. That should be written 2024. We should give you that citation. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to advance in this very important discussion today, before we get to the main parts, which I know all of us are very eager to know, who are the young innovators walking away with the grand prize for this Go Get Agripreneurship Award. Before then, I would like to bring on stage the youth ambassadors. When you look in between all of the different discussions we've had from Monday up to now, one thing that has been very central is that we need young people, not just at the table, but we need them in the design implementations all throughout to the implementation. And today we are very fortunate to have 3 global youth ambassadors who are going to join us on the stage to have a bit of fire chat. Ladies and gentlemen, again, if your hands are not too busy, I will please welcome Honorable Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I will bring on stage, please have your seats, please all be. Once again, I will bring on stage one amazing, fantastic, energetic. I thought you're supposed to be coming. You know why I said that? Because if you need to be youth done, nearly there is no any youth section that we have that we didn't see this important stakeholder in there. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sulita Songo-san, the president of the stage for this difficult journalist, Fred Swanika. Mr. Obi, good morning. We named you importantly the 3 of you our youth ambassador. And today, there's high expectations on the table for you. We would like to know, Mr. Obi, very quickly, in 2 minutes, what are the opportunities for leaders like you to transform the lives of young people, young entrepreneurs in Africa, to change the food system context?
Well, it's very simple. It's for the leaders to be committed. First, leadership must be demand-driven to listen to the youth, what they want. If you're talking about agriculture, youth, first you have to look at what is the problem of Africa. The number one problem of Africa is insecurity and food insecurity. And food insecurity, if properly tackled, can drive the overall insecurity, because we're talking about creating jobs in the food system, being able to feed people, because hunger is gone, things are driving. And we can only do this by investing in the entrepreneurship of the youth to be aggressive and listening to us. We have 60% of motivated animals are in Africa, and our youth population that are ready to drive this process. If I use my country, Nigeria, for example, where we have over 60% of the land of motivated living, just compare Nigeria in rice production alone, a country like Bangladesh that lives on 172,000 square kilometers of land, 48,000 square kilometers of land, can produce millions of tons of rice. Nigeria, even on 6 times that, 962,000 square kilometers, cannot even produce 10% of what they produce. You will see the difference. So there's a lot to use that do a great job for them. At the same time, we are able to feed the nation, help the export and everything. There's very lot that can do with the youth, but you need to invest in them.
Very
The
expensive.
government needs to support them.
Very expensive. That would be very basic. Shuita, you've been there, you understand this contest. Pretty much, we've made the youth done almost all the sections. I would like to ask you, really, as an important stakeholder, how do you involve and inspire other young people in the community to see value and prosperity in this sector?
Is that not ironical?
Easter every day. So for Hacker International, we've been focusing on providing resources to smallholder farmer families. And we've been working with the families for 50 years in this continent. And what we know is that working with youth is critical because of their facile ability to deal with technology that will accelerate agricultural productivity. And what we did was we created an enabling environment through this program called IUTE, which is Agriculture, Youth, and Technology, coming together to allow innovators and agripreneurs to test out ideas. And what we've done is provided catalytic funding, which is really important, but also enabling the environment to make sure that they can go from one stage to the next, making sure that they have partners, that they have a support, and then they understand what they're doing. And what has inspired me, and the fact that we've been in 9 countries that we're in, and we just had a regional gathering here actually in Kigali in June, is that these young folks are working with research that is grounded in the work of smallholder farmer families. And I think that piece cannot go unrecognized. And what we want to do is continue to support that. And being part of AFS allows us to make sure that the platform is larger than who we are as an organization. We're here to end hunger, poverty, while caring for the earth. It's not going to happen by ourselves. And when we're part of a forum like this that brings together other agripreneurs, tech innovators, there's just a sense of inspiration and a hope of what could come in the future. And they do feel that they're making a commitment to nourishing communities, but also a critical piece is in their responsibility and contribution to the economic growth of the agricultural sector.
Maybe Shweta, for really hammering on that UTech program as something about our innovation. Fred, let me come to you. We know about the youth's leadership for them to take leadership position, but how can youth leadership and innovations help to transform the food system in Africa?
Thank you. I think you mentioned the word transformation. So transformation for me is about a step change. It's about a revolution, completely reimagining the activities. Right? So when you look at it, that's the end goal. Then Africa is actually a fantastic place to reimagine agriculture and food systems, because one thing I believe is that constraints drive innovation. And Africa has a lot of constraints, so you can't do things traditional way. You have to reimagine and reinvent. So I think for me it's about 3 things. First, it's why young people are recognizing that agriculture is a huge opportunity. $50 to $70 billion spent every year in Africa importing food that we can grow here. So you can become the next agri-billionaire if you go into the space. Now, how do we make agriculture as sexy as fintech and health tech and all the way that people are doing? The second thing, it's about recognizing that this is not just about farming and breaking the back and digging, in the farms, but really, you can do a lot of really innovative things in the whole agriculture, food chain, and agribusiness, right? And the third is really about leveraging technology, right? And so, with all that advances that happen in technology, we can leapfrog and do agriculture the way in the future, not the way it was done in the past. So this is about leveraging artificial intelligence and using drones for precision farming, and data and AI for insurance, and bioinformatics for genetic breeding, how to use sensors for aquaponics farming, and blockchain for farming, and so forth. There's so many things that we can do, and do this, we can really create a whole new business for the continent for young people.
Very excellent, Fred. Like the fact that you want us to reimagine the way we do agriculture. It's not just agriculture, it's agribusiness. One party shot from you, 30 seconds. One party shot, what if there's something you have to change in the sector, what will you change? 30 seconds.
We need this room to be 80% young people for the next 10 years.
Because I know you're very passionate about young people. One party shot, what are you going to change?
Yes, I think if AFS represents a microcosm of the industry, young people should be part of the co-creation of the design. And what I heard in the Youth Dome was that they wanted to be here up front in every single section. So
if you have to change one thing, one party shot, what will you change to change agriculture sector?
To invest in the energy, entrepreneurship, and innovative spirit of the young people who can drive this process, and encouraging them to know that this is the next.
For my panelists, as we take your seats. I like the energy here. Somebody say energy. I can hear it from them. Say energy. Energy. Because look at that energy we are bringing on board something that's very energetic. If you are here on Tuesday, the Open Planet, we have really important discussions about young people and the roles the SMEs play. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are looking forward to a conversation between young people and the Harvard Board Chair. So if your hands are not too busy, I'll first of all call upon His Excellency, Halimeriam Desalegn, the Board Chair of Harvard. Because we just didn't want to make it the one-way discussion, we're going to bring in 3 young leaders who are changing the narratives in their own communities to deliver full system transformation in Africa. So I want the young people in the house, if you're not clapping, that means you're not young. Yes. So I'm bringing 3 young people. Number 1, please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Marie Agni Mokagami of Zuma Community. Excellent. And then joining us on stage is Watsi Musa, Jesus from Africa, South Africa. The last joining on the stage is Meron Shinishi Mikolu, the Marketers Academy of Ethiopia. His Excellency, how does it feel to be with young people on the seat? Are you happy? Are you happy? I want you to answer. Are you happy? I can see this one. So I'm going to give them one, really, to give you just one question each, directed to you. We'd like to hear from you, because we really believe that you are investing in young people. You made it mention in your opening plenary on Tuesday. So I would like Margaret to please direct a question to you, and then we go in this order.
Thank you. I want to ask, what specific steps is your government or the African Union taking to increase local capacity for processing and value addition so that we can do more of the wealth generated from our resources within the continent? Additionally, what strategies are in place to improve local packaging industries so that African-made products can compete with international brands in terms of quality and appeal?
Thank you very much for the question. I think, first of all, we have to understand that Africa is at a lower development ladder in the global setting. And if we need to improve this, we need to work very hard on our human capital development, which is very much lacking in our continent. If we talk about human capital development, then we are talking about three important things. We are lacking this capacity, but government policy has to focus on education, which is basic education, but for us, the main thing is on technical and vocational trainings and education, which is critical. So if we need to industrialize, as you mentioned, if we need to add values, we cannot do it just by wishful thinking. We need to have a basis to do that. That basis doesn't exist in our continent. So we need to address this market failure. Markets cannot address this alone. We need government intervention to facilitate this issue. So my experience in Ethiopia, for example, was we intentionally designed agro-industrial parks that, there is one say, when I was discussing with President Xi Jinping of China in our bilateral, he was saying, if you want birds to come in and enter into the nest, you have to prepare the nest first. Otherwise, without the nest, the birds will not come and enter into that. So we need to have intentional intervention by government. So industrialization is a very tricky thing. I think you can't just do that by wishful thinking. We have to start from our comparative advantage in Africa. In this case, from the lower ladder of industrialization to move into sophisticated, high-tech industry, we have to, slowly and intentionally grow to that end. So our young people here, I think what people are talking about, we need 80% of the young people attend this conference. I am pretty sure now almost 80% in the AGRF and in the African Food Systems Forum is young. You can see this whole. It's not just a wishful thinking, it's intentional. That has to be done. There is lack of awareness in the policy making in Africa, and we have to learn this lesson from somewhere else. For example, in East Asia, the East Asian countries moved into that ladder in one generation time only. So I think my country has learned a lot. I think I have also a very beautiful Ethiopian whiskey. She knows that. We intentionally insist that industrial development is very important stage for Africa, and to industrialize, we need the human capital first. So Ethiopia has 700 technical and vocational schools at this moment, which is intentionally done. And skills are very important because we are competing in the global market, and if you do that, you need to produce in a very quality manner. The understanding of quality and quality assurance is very important. So, if I give you one example, in our textile sector, initially, one Ethiopian is as productive, one Chinese is as productive as like 6 Ethiopians. In 2 years' time, we made 1-to-1. One Ethiopian is equal to in productivity with Chinese. So I think this is very important step if you have technical and vocational understanding in the industrialization process. This is number one. Number two is infrastructure. I think without infrastructure, it becomes again wishful thinking to industrialize. So if in the textile sector, if you want to industrialize, you need cotton. Cotton is produced in the rural areas. And if you don't have rural roads that can bring those cotton into Addis Ababa, then how can you industrialize properly? Because your government has to copy the government which is coming from China or Bangladesh or somewhere else. So it's a very niche market. And the margin is so small. It means that you have to make competitive the production process. So infrastructure, both digital infrastructure, physical infrastructure are very essential. The government has to invest in infrastructure in Africa. If we don't do that, then we can't industrialize properly. And the third is policy regime. I think the policy regime has to be very conducive. If that's the case, you can do that. Countries like Rwanda are moving very fast because there is intentional government follow-through very well, including the president himself knows what's happening on the ground. So I think that kind of aggressive and intentional leadership, entrepreneurial leadership is required in Africa. That we expect to come from our young people. And I think you have to be engaging in politics so that you become leaders of the future. So you shouldn't shy away. You have to apply for it, you have to get it, and become the leader of Africa. And our hope rests on our young people for the future of this continent. So these are the three issues where you can easily industrialize. So when you talk about, you say packaging and all those things, which we call it support industries. These support industries are very important. And in this case, you are very much innovative as young people. You need to somehow compete with the global packaging industries in a proper way, having that capacity to have attractive packaging in our continent. And I think that all rests on the three issues which I mentioned earlier.
Thank you, His Excellency. Can we please put a round of applause for him? I think we're very particular about some of this area. We should be intentional in terms of our investments to support young people. I'm going to allow Watson to ask you another important question that he has.
Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I run an option with the index insurance product. We're in 4 countries, and we're seeing ourselves wanting to expand to more countries in Africa. So my question is twofold. What are the concrete measures we are implementing to make the future agreement more accessible to youth? And also, what are the measures you are doing to make sure that every country participates in affecting the free flow of goods? Thank you.
I think, as far as I'm concerned, one of the landmark decisions our leaders have taken is the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which is very, very essential. But its implementation is very slow. So how can we make it expeditious implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement? This is very important. Agnes knows that we in Accra are trying to support this process. Not only Accra, but there are also other organizations like Trademark Africa and others. So the thing is, the most important impediment now for AFCFTA implementation is non-tariff barriers. This can, if there is leadership commitment, these non-tariff barriers can easily be avoided. So one of the key issues is how can we avoid all those non-tariff barriers that impede the free flow of goods and services between our borders. This is very important. The second issue, still I come back, there is no infrastructure in Africa. I mean, there is very, less infrastructure than required to move our goods and services within ourselves. The colonial infrastructure is built towards the ports because it is to move goods and services to the other parts of Africa, especially to Europe. But now we have to make our infrastructure that helps to move goods and services within ourselves. And this will take some time, but still we need to be aggressively doing that in order to get expeditious implementation of African Continental Free Trade Area. The second, the third most important, again, the policy meeting. I think we should be very careful in this. And in our AGRA program, we have a state capacity and policy component where we try to understand properly the policy prescriptions that help to unlock the bottlenecks. So I think this is very important. It will be, somehow tricky if governments are not, willing to implement those policy prescriptions. Then it is not easy. But we have to demand for that. So we shouldn't wait until governments are willing to do so. You as young people, you should be organized to demand for it. I think you have to have a voice, and that voice should crack into the bureaucracy that is very much impeding the free movement of things. But at the policy level, we have to also do that. AGRA and others, we have to come together to do that. But I also believe, again, this forum helps you to understand yourself, what are the intricacies. But also we have to understand also your voice, your problems, and your bottlenecks that you have to bring. So it's a mutual understanding process that helps to unlock those problems. So I think with this, we can bring about the changes, and we are on the right track. The Rwanda's trade minister is the one who is championing this, and other ministers of trade and industry, they come together as a council of ministers of the African Union, and they have to take this agenda, and we are pushing towards that to improve.
Thank you, Your Excellency. So what I do now, we have about 5 minutes to really move on to the next one. I really wanted Suleti to really ask a question, because she's really looking forward to asking you a question on that, so that we can move also backwards.
Thank you. Salam, Your Excellency.
Salam.
So I have 2 questions for you. These are the last questions. So what measures are being put in place to ensure the African innovations receive the necessary funding, infrastructure, and policy support to scale and remain within the continent? The last question I have for you is, how can governments and regional bodies work with the private sector to create an environment that fosters and protects local innovation, ensuring it contributes to Africa's development and prosperity?
Thank you so much. I think the major difference between countries, whether they are developed or developing, is simply their capacity to adopt technology. And innovation and creativity is very important. And we have to have creative thinking, and we are very happy that we have a number of our young people who are very creatively thinking, innovating, but we have to utilize that in Africa itself. You know why those innovations are going to other countries? It's simply because there is a conducive environment there, and there is no conducive environment here in Africa. So we have to address those things, by citing 1 to 3, understanding the problems themselves. So in this case, one of the things is, again, I'll come back to the policy regime. There is no supporting policy regime or no proper policy regime to support innovation and creativity in our continent. So we have to prescribe that. Now, my question to you as young people is, what are those things? Most of our leaders do not know them. Even though they do have the willingness to support, they need to understand. And sometimes only blaming the leaders up there will not help, so you have to come with solutions. What are those things? You have to tell us. I assure you that most of the African young leaders are ready to support this innovation and creativity in Africa. That's the first one. The second one is, again, infrastructure to continue with that. And unemployment is one of the things that we have to address, and this forum can help us in doing so, but it should go beyond that, and it should be continental. And we will continue to champion this together with our young people, and I hope innovations and creativity will remain in our continent for the benefit of our people.
Thank you so much, His Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause once again. Thank you. I know we have young people having their seats at the seats, youth at the seats, but I don't want them to just be at the seats. I want them to be in the picture, youth in the picture. Please, can we please have a picture with young people and His Excellency, please, as we take our seats afterward. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting to prepare your mind for what to expect, because in the next 1 or 2 minutes, we are going to have we're switching transition now. We're going to the Go-Getters Entrepreneurship Prize Competition 2024. Is somebody excited about that?